Welcome back. I'm Jeff Byers, and this is Annie150, and we are going to take you through CPU versus GPU rendering. Some of you may have graphics cards that can handle the GPU render. Some of you may not. So I'll take you through how to gauge whether it's going to help you or not. So they're fairly simple and easy to use. Alright, so the CPU render is what I've been showing you guys how to use. GPU is something totally different. CPU uses your CPU that is on your computer, the speed of your CPU, and GPU uses the cores of your graphics card. So there's quite a difference there, and GPU rendering is much faster and used to be very difficult to fix the noise, but now it's gotten a little bit better, and since it's so fast, we can go ahead and make some adjustments. So I'll show you what we have so far. So this is our scene that we're going to be working with, the food can scene. So when I go into the render settings and go into Arnold Renderer. Now, if you don't see Arnold Renderer, you'll need to go into Windows, Settings, Preferences, Plugin Manager, and make sure you click on the Arnold Renderer. So I think I've got a video on that, so you can watch that. Right now, the default settings are 3 and 2 all the way down, and then we go into ray depth, and it's 10, 1, 1, 8, 0, 10. Alright. So we're lucky in the scene we don't actually have glass to render, which has refractions and reflections, so that makes it a little easier. We do have a sky dome, which makes metals look a lot nicer, so if you don't have a sky dome, your metals might look pretty flat. Okay, so with all that said, we're going to go ahead and render our first scene. I've got it set at HD 540, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and we'll come right back when it's done rendering. Okay, we're back. The rendering's completed. It was rendered at 28 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this into memory. So this is this guy right there. Just click on that. So we can go back and forth to see the differences. Okay, so now we're going to show you how to do GPU rendering. Okay, so CPU, that's the lowest settings, and then we're going to do into GPU rendering. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up again. And under System, we have Render Device. We're going to go ahead and click on GPU. Here we go. And in here, what you'll need to do is make sure you have this selected. So I have a GeForce GTX 1080 Ti, which is kind of old compared to what you can get now, the RTX series. So I'll just show you what I've got going on here and how much faster it is. Okay. So I got to enable manual device selection. Okay, everything else I'm just going to leave the way it is. Okay, and again, Arnold Render, you can see that the difference is that it will only see the camera anti-aliasing settings. Okay, it doesn't really see anything else. Now ray depth, it does see. We're not going to change any of this though. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what the render looks like. Okay, I'll push that over to the side, and we're going to use the same render view we have and just click on render again. Okay, we're back, and you can see that it rendered in 6 seconds. That's really fast, so I'm going to go ahead and place this in there. You can see there's a lot of noise in this image compared to what we had before. So I'm going to place that image in the frame buffer, and you can see the difference between the two. Okay, so we've got the CPU and the GPU. You can notice the difference between the two. CPU is much cleaner, even at the lower settings, and the GPU is a lot more it's a lot noisier. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to tweak out the GPU and see if we can get it looking a little bit better. So I'm going to go back into render settings here, and I'm going to turn this up to 8. Okay, I'm going to need to hit enter. Again, you can go to system and you can see that we've got our GPU and we've got my graphics card selected. You have to make sure you enable the graphics card, otherwise it will not render any faster. In fact, it probably won't render fast at all. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and move that over again, and let's go ahead and do another render. Okay, overall we have 9 seconds, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that in. You can see that things are going pretty good. Okay, this is what we had before, and this is what we have now with the GPU render. So we got 6 seconds and then 9 seconds, and then original was 28 seconds. Okay, you can see a huge difference here. All right, so not much difference between the two. Okay. So let's see what a little bit more anti-aliasing will do. If not, let's just go to 10. So 8 was pretty good, actually. Let's go ahead and do another render, and this time I'm not going to pause it, so you can see the full render time. I'm thinking it's going to be around maybe 10 to 11 seconds. That's 13. Okay. So what's the difference between what we did before? So there's 9 and there's 10, and it looks much better. So 10 does help take some of the graininess out. Okay. Let's go back to the 28 seconds. So I think that the GPU actually looks better than our CPU, and it rendered it at 13 seconds. So what I'm going to do is we're going to be turning in HD 1080, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. Okay, and I'm going to go back into our render settings real quick, and I think I already had that open. So we're going to keep the GPU. Now that we know what we want and we got a really nice looking image, now we're going to go all the way to full resolution, 1080. Okay. Okay, you can see that my system's set up properly, 10, and then we'll go ahead and do a render. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that in, and I'm going to pause the video because this will take long. Okay, we're back, and that looks pretty darn good. And it was 50 seconds for 1080, HD 1080. So I'm going to pop that in there. Alright, so with that done, I'm going to go back to CPU. Okay, and let's do a pretty decent number here. So I'm going to go back into System and go back to CPU. It's pretty easy, isn't it? Just going back and forth. And with this, we don't want it that high, but I usually go between 4 and 5, so I'm going to go ahead and do a 5. Okay, we could actually do a 4, maybe. Between 4 and 5. That'll give us kind of that same amount. And let's go ahead and do a render. And this time it's going to take a lot longer, so I will have to pause this. So I'm going to go ahead and close that and move this back up into place here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and pop that in, and then I'm going to render that. And I'll go ahead and pause it because this will take a while. Okay, we just finished rendering, and I'm going to go ahead and pop that in there, and you'll be able to see that this CPU render was 4 minutes 49 seconds, and then we have a render, the GPU render is 50 seconds, so we got a basically rendered 5 times longer than the 50 seconds, almost 5 minutes. So you can see the difference. I can't see much of a difference. There's a little noise in the GPU compared to the CPU. It's not too bad. I think it looks pretty good. Let's go 1:1 on there. Yep, that's really good. It's very, very close. Alright, so yeah, you can see that it makes a huge difference on what you're using for a render engine. And if you do have a great video card, then why not use it? And And you might be surprised, even without a really nice video card, you can have some good results. And it's going to be faster than the CPU, hopefully. Anyway, give that a shot and let me know how that works for you guys. Alright, I'll talk to you later, and have a nice day.